Welcome to Wisconsin in Focus. I'm JD Davidson. It's been 7 years since groundbreaking for the infamous Foxconn deal in Racine, Wisconsin. A highly criticized, heavy government subsidized economic development deal that fell significantly short of both company and government promises. Earlier this week, the land that was part of that deal got a new lease on life. Joining us today is Ben Yount, Wisconsin contributor for the Center Square. Ben, what happened in Racine this week?
Well, once again, we had a president standing on the ground talking about thousands of jobs that were going to come to Southeast Wisconsin and how great it's going to be for the folks in Racine, good paying jobs, and you don't have to leave home to get them. The difference, of course, being that this is President Biden coming to town to talk about Microsoft and not Foxconn. The broad strokes of President Biden's visit, Microsoft is going to spend $3 billion on a brand new data center / AI hub at the old Foxconn site. And if you're looking at the map, it's Mount Pleasant, so just a little bit north of Racine, but it's the Racine area. There's also some hubs that are going to be, they'll work with the Packers and UW Green Bay. There's also going to be some work with Gateway Technical College. But President Biden, in an election year, in the swing state that is Wisconsin, came and promised lots of jobs for lots of people. And he took a couple of parting shots at the former president. Again, if you've ever watched any of President Biden's speeches, he doesn't name him by name, but he said, my predecessor came with a golden shovel and dug a hole and then apparently fell in. And that got some laughs. But while the president comes and he's always the big story, right afterwards, there were not so many quiet whispers. There were an awful lot of out loud whispers that said that this president really didn't have anything to do with this deal and certainly didn't have anything to do with getting the Foxconn site ready for massive developments like that. And, politics being politics, but that part is true.
I have to believe, though, the people in Racine, it doesn't matter who the president is, who's making the announcement, what may be coming, to kind of take the step past the Foxconn deal and potentially energize the local economy again. That's got to be pleasing for that area.
Yeah, you've got two reactions, right? Whenever something happens with Foxconn, there's the political reaction, and we'll get to that in a second. And then there's the real world reaction of, hey, folks here just want jobs. And Joe Biden has delivered for union construction workers in this country. There's no denying that, whether you're building locks and dams by Pittsburgh or you're building a new bridge between Superior, Wisconsin and Duluth, Minnesota, or now building this data center here in Racine County. This president has gone along with his infrastructure act and just dropped and dropped and dropped and dropped. And the people who do hard work in this country have reaped the benefits. Racine County, like most of Wisconsin, has very low unemployment, 3% or maybe even a little below. Labor participation rate, that's a little iffy as well. But no, there are folks who really want to see something happen in the Foxconn area down there, Mount Pleasant. The idea that there will be high-tech jobs south of Milwaukee, that's a great idea. The political angle of this is always more interesting, though, because like you said to start this, when Scott Walker, who was the then Republican governor of Wisconsin, signed the deal with Foxconn, it was a $10 billion investment from the company for 13,000 jobs in exchange for about $3 billion in government tax credits. And Democrats in the state howled, how dare you subsidize this? This is too much. Billions of dollars for this company that hasn't really done anything. And all of those tax incentives were performance-based. So over the years, Foxconn didn't get paid under the Walker administration. Even after President Trump came and flipped the shovel of dirt, Foxconn did not meet its hiring or investment benchmarks and therefore got bupkis. 2021, Governor Tony Evers renegotiates the deal, and they lower it from a $10 billion investment to about a $600 million investment, from 13,000 jobs to 1,400 jobs. And they changed the tax incentive from $3 billion down to a couple of $100 million. But with those much lower thresholds, Foxconn has gotten paid for the past couple of years. And so the criticism, well, Scott Walker did this, that's faded away over the past couple of years. And that was, it was an interesting balancing act to hear Democrats take credit for the new Microsoft venture while having to quietly hide the part about Tony Evers and his tax subsidies and what he's doing, what he's paying this company that was, that fell short. But, the governor is now paying them to fall short and paying them far more than they were ever paid under Scott Walker and Donald Trump.
Economic subsidies for any business and any corporation is kind of to me, it's very similar to pork projects and budget deals. Nobody likes them unless they're in your town.
Yep.
And unless it's your political party. But the interesting part about this is when you're just talking tax credits, there's no loss for government to offer tax credits.
No,
money you're not getting anyway.
Before this was the Foxconn site, it was an empty field at a neighborhood. Now, one of these days we could sit here and talk about having to displace people and say, hey, hit the bricks there. We're moving in. But this was not something that was going to generate jobs. It was not something that was going to generate billions of dollars of investment. And this was the point that I heard 3 or 4 different times today that, yes, Foxconn fell short. It was a huge promise and therefore a huge disappointment. But what you had from the state of Wisconsin and Mount Pleasant, the village itself, and Racine County was they spent millions of dollars in those early years to pave the roads, to clear the land, to put the sewers in, to run electric. It is as close to a shovel-ready turnkey operation as you can get. And there was a piece when Microsoft first announced this plan last year, and it was a much smaller plan, $1.5 billion as opposed to $3.3 billion. The reason that Microsoft chose the Foxconn site is because all of that work was done. That you could have found empty land anywhere, but it would have taken them millions of dollars in a couple of years to get it to the point where Foxconn was just sitting there. And so in the final review, when you take a look at what the Foxconn deal means, yes, it meant a lot of promises, a lot of public money that would have been on the line, and a not insignificant amount of public money that was spent. But that money that was spent prepped the area, cleared the way, guaranteed that a place like Microsoft could say, oh, you're ready for me to move in right now? I don't even have to clean off the parking lot? Wonderful, great, fantastic. Let's go. And that's the long-term benefit of some of these deals that, you don't want crony capitalism. And taxpayers don't need to be subsidizing every ballpark that comes down the pike. But there's a time when an investment, even if it doesn't pay off exactly how you think it is in the short term, that investment has now paid off in the longer term.
Well, now we'll wait to see if Microsoft can live up to its promises. Ben, thanks for joining us today. Listeners can keep up with this story and more at thecentersquare.com.
Are you tired of news that puts politics over people? At the nonprofit Franklin News Foundation, we believe in putting people over politics by delivering nonpartisan news and audio content that serves you, the American taxpayer. With Franklin News Foundation, you can read fact-based, state-focused news for free at thecentersquare.com. You can listen to civil, balanced conversations between policy experts through our podcast network at americastalking.com. Or you can get in-depth news on K-12 education spending, curriculum, and school safety at chalkboardnews.com. It's all free through Franklin, where we put you, the American taxpayer, first in every story, episode, and conversation. And it's only possible through our supporters. Together, we can produce content that puts people over politics and brings Americans the news they deserve. Become a supporter today at franklinnews.org/donate. Once again, that's franklinnews.org/donate.